Okay, let's talk about conflicts. For most of us, conflicts are something that we try to avoid. Think about synonyms for the word conflict: battle, argument, clash. Those all have a negative connotation, right? And I'm sure you can think of many more. Because of that negative connotation, we tend to try to avoid conflict or at least work our way around conflict whenever possible. Yet, in the right circumstances, conflict can be less negative and more productive. If we really think about the use of conflict to solve an issue, and we think about ways in which we can use last week's lessons of listening versus hearing and seeing versus watching, then we start to see a pattern emerge in our conflict strategies, how we deal with conflict, how we approach conflict, and how we might change in order to see more positive outcomes. So, if we think about how conflicts are just impossible to avoid, the best example to use is probably spouses. Um, 20 years of research shows that even the happiest couples experience conflict, but happy couples deal with conflict completely differently than unhappy couples. Now, thinking back to research and what we know, those researchers have had to define happy versus unhappy, and they use things like divorce rates, counseling rates, and the like to determine those. But through those 20 years of research, they came up with a sort of pattern of how people deal with conflict and argument. So, happy couples might argue vigorously about something, but they use skills like perception checking to come back and sort of think about here's what I'm hearing, or here's what I think you're saying. And then they check that. They ask those important questions. They also let one another understand how the other feels, even if they still continue to disagree with that point of view. They at least offer that emotional connection during the conflict. There are 5 default conflict styles, which you'll see in the notes below because I think they're easier to understand vocabulary words in writing when you have something visual to see. But those are competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, and accommodating. So check those notes below and take a look at all 5 of those conflict areas.